My name is Taylor Davis. I am the curator of Bending Light. Bending Light is a group exhibition featuring 4 Black women and queer artists from Texas. This show is a material exploration in light, color, space, and time. Each of these artists are exploring themes related to Black identity and self-discovery. As a curator, I'm interested in pulling common threads of subject matters that are special and unique to each artist. I'm really interested in creating conversations between diverse works of art. I see my role as creating unique conversations amongst these artists. And so I really let them kind of lead the topics for the show and provide a sort of conduit between each artist to connect the works.
Kaima Marie Akarue,
a collage artist based out of Houston, Texas. When I met them, they let me know that a few of the themes that they explore in their work have to do with exterior spaces, transit spaces, and interior spaces. So I was really excited to illustrate that connection with the works that we have in the show. A lot of their works deals with sort of architectural language, breaking that up and layering that over archival photos as well as photos from their own photography practice. Manipulation of found portraiture and layering of her collage work to really set the scene for environments that look very lifelike and very real. So she's kind of creating that illusion, and she's using light to trick our eyes into thinking that what we're looking at is an actual, real photo. You start with this really amazing piece of Houston, which is where she's from, and that is a piece that also has that layer of sort of the old photos, the new photos, the old Houston and the new. I wanted to add some color because of how colorful I think that her collages are, and I wanted the layers of that to stand out, which I think just having a white background wasn't going to do it justice. So wanted to add some complexity to what we were already looking at, adding some complementary colors, especially to the transit piece in the middle, and giving some contrast to the pieces on the ends. Ciara Elle Bryant is a multidisciplinary artist from Dallas, Texas. And their work in the show consists of both portraiture, self-portraiture, photography, and video collage, as well as a sculpture. Ciara's piece is titled Aya, and it is a personal piece about perseverance and resiliency in and of itself, which I think is why it's so appropriate for our show. And Aya is the Adinkra symbol for fern. And the fern is known to grow in a lot of unfavorable conditions. And so the resiliency is really a commentary on the weight of that and the stress that causes. Ciara uses baby's breath in their work, which is, I think, very indicative of a type of flower that is extremely resilient, can leave baby's breath standing for days with no water, no soil, and it almost looks exactly the same. The text on her reads, "I'm at the borderline of my faith. I wait for the sound, but I'm still alive." And I think that is a really poetic way of waiting for this burden to be lifted. When you walk into the space, and it's really asking the viewer to more walk alongside of the work in a very more linear nature, which I feel like kind of tells the story of, struggle, but also that resiliency piece of kind of overcoming that. Martinez is a steel sculpture from Houston, Texas. They have 3 pieces in the show, all have an element of steel and found objects and fibers to their work. Their piece, Ode to Marfa, is a piece that I think really inspired a lot of the themes for this show. I was just very inspired by the interplay of light and color with their acrylic panels and their manipulation of shadow within the work. This piece is in reference to the artist's time spent in Marfa, Texas, and really alludes to that sort of West Texas sunset feel walking through the town. Found objects in a lot of her work, but in this one, again, add to that feeling of walking through Marfa. You find a lot in Kat's work, which is fibers and fabrics. Kat is thinking about the relationship of femininity and fiber and to relate to that materials. Africatown is based on a historic Black community in Alabama of the same name, and it is the site of the landing of the Clotilda, which was the last slave ship to land in America after slavery was outlawed and shortly before emancipation. That incorporates aquarium pieces that hold artifacts that she's both collected and that begin to tell the story of resilience from a dark and really murky, unpleasant past. There are replica shackles in the tank in this really dark, murky water representing our really dark history of slavery in this country. And then you move up into the next box, which is both sand, driftwood, and trash and found objects, which continue to tell the story of the neglect and the mistreatment of this town by our society, by the government. The next tank is a clear water with a thin amount of silt at the bottom, which we talked about how that silt is really the perseverance of our history, really defines of who we are. But we have this sort of clear tank that represents kind of the clarity of that growth. And at the top there is an aquarium of succulents growing from this sand. And I think that's kind of really exemplifying the perseverance, the resiliency of these succulents that can grow in any condition. Similar, to Ciara's work, where we think about the ways in which nature can preserve in difficult situations from all the pollution that Africatown had experienced. Africatown, when it was originally shown, was shown in a silo in Houston. And it was a very dark exhibition where the only thing you could see were the light of the aquariums. And so I was really excited to kind of put this right in front of this amazing window and to illuminate the materiality of the steel and really allow the viewer to interact with the craftsmanship and the sort of assemblage of all the materials there. Chandrika Metivier is a Houston and Austin-based multidisciplinary artist. Their work in our show is brand new site-specific installation of a mylar sculpture and a performance video piece as well. Having these monitors side by side, they're intentionally asking the viewer to make a decision about either engaging with this very personal, very real human that is dealing with something very heavy, or to censor that figure altogether and only read the text, only taking in fragments of what the true story is. It's meant to simulate a missile physically moving through a wall and is a quite literal and truthful reflection of the violent and horrific nature of a lot of our current political state, and reflective of both issues that we are experiencing both in Gaza and Sudan. The use of mylar in Chandrika's work, I think, is really the moment where we start to see this play of light and reflection, both reflecting the viewer, but also experiences that we are seeing in real time. On one side of the wall, we'll see a more solid brick facade, and as you turn, you'll see the interior of that space. You'll see the entry point for that missile, that weapon, bringing that violence from the outside into the home. I think is the personalization that is also reflected in the video. Also, found objects from our area here, from our neighborhood, to again kind of simulate that action and that destruction. I hope that people will take away from this show that things are not exactly what they appear. And I hope that it invites them to take a closer look and take a deeper look to reflect both inward and outward about assumptions that they may have. This show is reflective of how Black women and Black queer people navigate the oppression that has come to be expected of our existence. If light is our resilience, then that light is a unique reflection of our society and the inequities that are considered acceptable.